Court ruling against affirmative action. We talked about it last week. We're going to talk about it again. We're being inundated on Facebook by all these posts from these brothers and sisters, educated brothers and sisters, complaining about the Supreme Court ruling. And to me, that is nonsense. The fact that you're complaining because your oppressor has taken away the helping hand that he gives to you simply reflects the dependence that we believe we have on our oppressor. That sort of Stockholm syndrome relationship we have, believing that we can't make it unless we're helped. And of course, help from anyone is always handy, is always welcome, in whatever aspect of life we happen to be dwelling in. But we have to really think about this one. We have to consider that we are looking at the need for help from the oppressor that caused the situation that we're living in today in the first place. Okay? And understand, emancipation from slavery was about 158 years ago. 158 years. Now, when the nation decided they wanted to make a seatbelt law, it was like overnight, right? When the nation decided they wanted to have those little babies sitting in baby seats, I remember when all this happened, it was overnight. When we decided we wanted the right for women, to vote, or the right for women for their own, to determine their own bodies, we had people out there protesting vehemently, and we still do. And even governors making laws to where people can find freedom in their state, without prosecution. We find ways to make it happen. But in this nation, a way has not been made for black people to be totally equal. Okay? And so all I'm suggesting is, why are you looking to the individual who created your situation like that, has taken 158 years and still not totally fixed it? Why are you still looking for a handout from that entity? You're never going to get a handout from your oppressor that's going to lift you up to the level of your oppressor. That's why I find it ridiculous, as black people calling themselves Democrats or Republicans. And this is not a political message. This is pretty much anti-political. It's saying is that you cannot sensibly consider yourself a valid member of any of the political parties if you're not totally free. If you're not totally equal, all you are is just a particular vote that both sides are courting, that both sides want in their corner. Both sides want you to be their black guy. They're black over there. Okay? So recognize that. We have to understand that first of all, we are not totally equal in this nation. Okay? And that, so we have to stop looking to the oppressor to make us equal, because as long as the oppressor is giving you a handout, you'll never be equal, because you'll always be dependent on that handout. And as soon as your oppressor believes in his own eyes that you're getting too uppity, he's gonna take that handout away, which he's done. Come on now. I guess we got too happy with the whole January 6th thing. We got too happy with Obama becoming president, but none of this could happen then. So just recognize that there just comes a time when you do have to pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. You do have to make a way when there seems to be no way, okay? We always putting that on God, I'm putting that on you. Come on now. You had parents that were slaves back in the day with the threat of execution if they were teaching their children how to read, but still they made a way to find a way for their children to read. And you best believe some of them were executed. But they recognized that the oppressor wasn't going to educate their child. The slaves that were making sure their children had the education so they can read and that they could write recognized it was only through that ability to read and write could there ever be a possibility of them being free and equal. Because unless your skill level and your opportunity is equal to your oppressor, you'll never be free. You'll never be equal. Okay? Now, at that time, during slavery, most white folks were not educated. So if you had your child as a black child could read and write, that was a step above a whole lot more white folks than it is today, okay? So we have a whole different situation today. And I guess why I'm coming so vehemently is because we don't need affirmative action, okay? Now that is going to take a commitment. That's going to take a commitment to parents. It's going to take a sacrifice of some of our time away, some of our leisure time, some of our fun time. We have to be right up there in there with our kids, okay? But there are, you get, your child does very well scholastically, they're going to get scholarships. Sports, very well, they're going to get scholarships. Languages, there are all kinds of things. You're going to get scholarships. Focus on that, okay? Focus on the homework from the time that they're in the first grade or even kindergarten, helping them with that homework all the way up. Now that might take some buzz time away. I know when my daughter was I think she was in about the 8th grade or so, when she was struggling with algebra, and I'm, that's about my limit, a little bit, college algebra. And I understand the mathematics and economics and the mathematics and accounting, but some of the stuff that they were doing, I would be trying to help her with her homework. And finally, I'd have to say, honey, you just go to bed. And I would be up on the internet till 1 and 2 in the morning trying to figure out how to do this thing that she was struggling with. And by the time she woke up in the morning, I would have the answer for her as far as how to handle, how to deal with, how to figure out these type problems. So if I was smoking weed, that would have never happened. If I was drinking alcohol, that would have never happened, because it took me studying with her while she was awake for me to tell her just to go on to bed, and then for me to stay up until early in the morning trying to figure out how to do those problems. You have to be hands-on with your child all the way up through their school years and through their high school years. Now, if you've trained them well enough through elementary school and through junior high school, by the time they get to high school, they'll be able to handle on your own. It won't be so challenging, because some of that stuff is going to be way, way beyond you, Fortunately for me, I started attending college when she was 3 years old. In 10 years, I earned my MBA, so she was 13. So a lot of the things she was dealing with in school, I was able to help her because it was all still fresh in my mind, okay? But a lot of folks, it's not. So you got the internet. You got right at your fingertips whatever you need to learn whatever it is they might be struggling with. Okay, but that's the sacrifice. I'm just saying we don't need that. Your child might not get into Harvard or Yale, but how many of us get there anyway? And is that really that important for what we're trying to accomplish? Okay, because if you look at the numbers of people, the numbers of Americans that are not college educated, and your black child is college educated, that's a step up. Now, a lot of folks, I see a lot of black folks talking today about, getting them into trade school, let them be plumbers, let them be this. Well, that's all well and good. But it's not a problem with college. There's a problem with picking the wrong majors. Don't be a psychology major. Don't be a sociology major unless you're going to go all the way, to the PhD and try to make something of it like that. All I'm saying is that college education is great, okay? But you have to begin encouraging your kids at a very young age. How important education is. For me, when my daughter was 3, and I didn't even do this intentionally. But I started school when Obama became president. When I saw a young brother that was younger than me and had a Harvard education, I had a high school diploma. So I was going to go to the local college, Sinclair College, and just get an associate degree. 10 years later, I had my MBA. So I earned my associate degree, I earned my bachelor's degree, I earned my MBA. And so it really didn't have anything to do with my child. It simply was a reality that I could do better. And so I did better. But what I saw in that, and what I'm sharing with you right now, is that my daughter was watching me. See, our kids get a lot more by watching us than what we're telling them. Trust me. I was one of those kids. And probably your kids are as well, or the kids that you will have. So you have to demonstrate before them. Be the man that you want your son to be. Okay? Be the adult that you want your daughter to be. So if you recognize the importance of education, you get educated. and they'll follow in your footsteps. And I'm just suggesting that anybody can go to college. Better if they have scholarships. But if they don't have scholarships, there are student loan programs. Just make sure you're taking the right major and you don't drop out. Now, I guess this program is a lot, focused toward parents, because we need to put down the weed. We need to put down the alcohol. We need to begin to give an example of what this child needs to be in order to be successful in school and then on to college, okay? And if they see you partying, they're going to be partying. If they see you getting that buzz, they're going to be getting that buzz, because you're affirming that before your child's eyes. And what I'm suggesting is that might be all well and good for us after I get off of work, but it's not going to be well and good for my child if they're needing to study and instead they smoke a joint or drink some alcohol. So it's going to take some sacrifice on our part as parents. But come on now, we don't need to be beholding or desiring or even complaining against the massa, because the massa isn't giving us a handout to keep us solvent educationally. And so we're probably not so many black folks going to Harvard and Yale. We can go to every other college with the scholarships, with the student loans. And I know a lot of people might take issue with this, but the military. I went to a restaurant this afternoon, Sunday after church. I went to a Japanese restaurant in Xenia, Ohio, and in a kind of new little shopping center. In the little shopping center area, there was the recruiter's office. And that brought back some memories. I guess I visited the recruiter's office back in 1976, But, man, now, when I was going to college for my bachelor's degree and for my MBA, I was going to Park University, which is a college in Missouri, which has a relationship with the military, a very good relationship with the military. And so we would take our proctored tests on base at Wright-Patterson, okay? And so it was very, very catered a lot toward online classes for veterans everywhere. That was really cool. But one of the times when I went up to the base to take one of my proctored tests, I was walking. It was just in a regular military building on base. I don't even know what it was used for, but I noticed on the walls there were advertisements to young airmen to go to college. And if you go to college, that the military will be paying for it. Now, as I understand, don't quote me on this, or you can, but as I understand it works now, when you initially go in the military, you need to tell them that you're going to be going to college. And they have a program where you're like paying half, and they take some of the money out of your paycheck, and they'll pay for the rest. It's still a good deal. And they're even set up, what they want to do is attract folks into the enlisted ranks and have you go to college while you're in the military, and then become a second lieutenant once you graduate, which is a pretty good deal. And then after you get out of the military, man, you've just really upped your resume to another level just from the time you were in the military. So what I'm telling you is we might have to be creative than we would have had we been getting that affirmative action. But I'm telling you, it's not that we won't be going to college. Most black folks that go to college today aren't going on an affirmative action program. Come on now. I was talking on Facebook there, and somebody responded, well, they won't be going to Harvard or Yale. So what? Come on now. It's not that big a deal. We just have to survive, and we have to survive without a handout from the individual that brought us here. That's all I'm saying. And I think so. There are so many culprits to our mental dilemma, but the first thing is that we still haven't broken away, even after being emancipated, from that feeling where we have to be helped in order to make it. Now, in all fairness, when black folks were first freed, it was necessary. There was a need for help, because you cannot go from hundreds of years of slavery to freedom and then survive in a regular society. There had to be a Freedmen's Bureau. There had to be help, okay? But at this particular point in our lives, we have gotten too used to the help. As we discuss politics, I think politics, even though I don't believe we should really consider ourselves Democrats or Republicans, we do, okay, as black folks. And I'm suggesting that black folks that the politics has also been a culprit in this mental, or in this inability for us to progress further than we could or than we should have by now. Because one of the primary issues we have, I think, not just as black people, but as human beings, is that we find it easier to focus on someone else's issues than to focus on our own issues, okay? And especially the destructive ones. The issues that we have that are not only not helping us progress, but are keeping us from progressing. And so politics is the perfect thing, because when I sign up, I'm going to be a Democrat or I'm going to be a Republican, then I no longer look at my own ills. Now I'm looking at all the ills of the Democrats, or I'm looking at all the ills of the Republicans, and that is where my fervor rests. Not in improving myself, because I'm no longer looking at the ills of my own life. I've got all my focus, and all the news, the political news programs are focused in one direction or another. When we sign on with them, we're not looking at our issues. All we're looking at theirs, man. And so there's no reason for us to get any better, because we're only thinking about what's wrong with them, okay? And so I'm saying, as black folks, that's privilege. We're just not in that place of privilege where we can sit back, where we have the time to sit back and contemplate and condemn other folks for the issues in their lives. We're not well ourselves. We're going to sit back there and complain about the folks, the pronoun people, you know, the person that wants to be called they, or the person, the woman that might want to be called she, or the man that wants to be called he, or the person identifying themselves as, you know what I mean? I give them that. I don't agree, but if that's how you feel, I don't mind, helping you out. I'll call you what you want to be called. That is no problem to me, but a lot of black folks are fighting that. Why? If it's not you, what does it matter? We have bigger fish to fry. We don't have time to be worrying about what this guy's doing or what this guy's doing over here. Come on, we got our hands full trying to fix our own lives. And this deal with the Supreme Court affirmative action, that's a big one right there. It's a big one because we have the opportunity to take this as a motivator and propel ourselves forward. Or we can sit back and lament and gloom and defeat and complain and never get anywhere because of it. But I'm just saying we're a little bit tougher than that, or at least we should be. All it takes is a sacrifice. That's it. Come on. And why haven't you? Why are we still in the, I hate to go all over the place, but it's kind of frustrating. You've seen some of my posts probably. I put them on TV, and I also put them on the internet, on Facebook, and all that stuff. Just trying to encourage people to be better. I encourage people as far as exercise. I'll be 65 this year, 2023. And I'm in pretty good health, pretty good shape. Because I exercise every day, and I try to eat right every day. And I don't get enough sleep. I know that. I try to improve myself, physically. And so I post stuff, encouraging, never to just show me, but to try to, if I can do it, as old as I am, as undisciplined as I've been all of my life, if I can do it, anybody can do it. And just the other day, one of my Facebook friends, she put a comment in there, you sound like a motivational speaker. You should be a motivational speaker. And at first I felt kind of good about that, but then I felt kind of bad because it doesn't look like I'm being too successful. Because people aren't changing. People aren't adjusting. Man, I give templates. This is the way to do it. I can tell you this, whatever it is you want to accomplish in your life, whatever it is, it can be done. And I mean it. And this is the way I live my life. Whatever I decide I want to be, whatever I decide I want to do, it's doable. The only one standing in the place in front of it from keeping it from happening is me. Anything. And so that's what I'm telling you right now. And this is my frustration because I look at our people. I look at the diabetes. I look at the high blood pressure, the cholesterol. I look at the heart, diseases. I look at all of the issues of our lives. I look at the inability for us to progress further economically, and then I look at the habits that we have in our lives that are keeping us from becoming better. And so I was on that path of, I don't know if I was addicted to stuff, but I sure was stuck on it. You know, the buzz and the alcohol and all that stuff. And my health wasn't the greatest. As well, I had a high school education. All these things, and I just changed them. Okay? Changed them. Now, they didn't change overnight. Especially like the education one, man. I mean, I wasn't in a rush. It took me 10 years to get that MBA. But it's all doable. And I was 60 when I got it. I was 60, 3 days from my 63rd birthday when I became a certified scuba diver. Whatever. I'm just saying, whatever it is you want to do, you can accomplish, man. I'll tell you, but it has to start with the basics, with the foundation. 28 years old, man, I was getting a buzz 24/7. If I was awake, I was buzzed on something. I stopped. Okay. man, on that day, man, when I had this revelation, when I had this epiphany that I think I got this thing all wrong. You know, I've been wasting all this time. I don't think I've been right about my thoughts and the direction of my life, man. I went through my apartment that morning, and I began picking out everything in my apartment that I loved. I had trophies, baseball, bowling, karate trophies. I had stuff, I had picked up a chess set I had picked up in Korea. I had pictures and things I had picked up in Japan. I had a jazz album collection. I had a switchblade collection. I had all kinds of stuff in my house that I loved. I gathered them all up that morning and took them out to the dumpster and threw them all away. I was determined at that point that this guy that stayed buzzed 24/7, this guy that found his identity in the things that he owned, no more. I just decided to change, and it was done. It was over. That guy no longer existed. Man, I was around my family. And one of my family members, I won't mention the name, you know, I heard through the grapevine, said, Marty, we'll give him 6 months, he'll be back to normal. I was 28 then, I'll be 65 this year. No, I made a decision. That guy, and then throughout the life, maybe 15 or 17 or so, 18 years ago, I started eating more healthy, maybe 20 years ago. And then when I was 50, I was in a place where I could get an education. I was in good health, get an education, just to get an associate. Then I decided to get a bachelor's, and I decided to get an MBA. I mean, so it was not overnight. But the initial foundation, no more buzz, no more clubs, no more cigarettes, no more destructive lifestyle. It was over. That was it. I was in clubs every single night of the week. That was done. It was over. Made a decision. Why? Because I recognize that if I'm going to get from here to there, there got to be some changes. And to many, that would be called sacrifice. Many people ask me today, all that stuff you threw away, do you kind of wish you hadn't done it now? No! I have never, ever regretted throwing away all that stuff that could never be replaced. Because those things were no longer me. And you know what? Truth be told, those things were never me. I had just bought into that, and it was keeping me from becoming all that I could become. Okay? So, I'm just saying, man, I have a good life now. I was talking to this other brother. This brother, he's an educated brother, you know. I think he's a Q or Alpha. I don't know what he is, you know. I don't really get into the fraternity and sorority things, although I know my daughter is going to be doing that one day in the next year or two. But we were talking about this deal with the affirmative action, and I was trying to give him this little spiel in a real condensed version that I'm giving you right now. And he says, you know, that's because you're in a position where it really doesn't affect you and all this stuff. Man, I had to tell him, man, I wasn't always in this position. Man, sometimes I was broke. I was financially jacked because of my lifestyle, because of the way I was living. Man, I smoked cigarettes. I remember once I needed cigarettes so bad, I went to the trash can, found some cigarette butts out of my own trash can, not out of a dumpster, and found some cigarette butts, and mind you, at this time, I had all my trophies. I had the stuff from Japan. I had the stuff from Korea. I had my jazz out. All the stuff that I threw away a few years later, I had all that stuff. And I was broke. And I needed a cigarette. I went to my own trash can, took all these cigarette butts out, had some rolling paper, and just rolled my own cigarettes. Ugh, that's kind of terrible. But just to impress that I wasn't always as well as I am today. It took a decision. And I wasn't suffering. Even now, this is the terrible part, see? This is the worst part, because we can get complacent. We can get satisfied in a place that is far, far beneath our potential. And that's where I was. I wasn't hurting. I wasn't sad. Get your lights shut off. I'm not going to have them turned on for 3 days. As long as I could get a buzz and have a photo album, I was all right, you know. I'm just saying. We maybe it's a mental survival technique to be satisfied in the situation you're in, but I'm telling you, too many of us are satisfied far beneath our potential. I mean, my life it's even hard to believe. I remember when I bought my first house. I was out in the yard, and I had a tree in the yard. And I was just standing out there just looking at that tree. I couldn't believe that tree was mine. Because we know where we came from. And although it's good now, it wasn't always good. And the fact is, the fact that mine was so bad, my lifestyle was so destructive, that now I'm full of advice and insight. And I don't care who it is. If you're willing to make a sacrifice, I don't care who you are, you can pull yourself right out of it. It's not an issue. Stop smoking weed. Stop drinking. Stop going out. Stop eating bad food. Start exercising. Start getting yourself healthy. Your mind is going to clear up, and as your mind clears up, ideas are going to pop in. You're going to go back to school. It's really inexpensive to go to Sinclair. Graduate from Sinclair, go to a job, say, look, I have an associate degree. They're going to be impressed that you did this, and you're going to get a job. I mean, it's not going to be a very, very, very high-paying job, but it's going to be better than you were. And then while you're working there, you go online or go to night school or whatever you can with your schedule, and get to your bachelor's degree eventually. And then you're going to take that and you're going to go to the next place and say, look, I've been working here all this time, but I've been going to school, I got my bachelor's degree. You're going to get a better job. And you can hang out there if you want to for the rest of your life. Or you could do it again like I did. Get your master's degree, or for me, my MBA. Go to the next place. I'm telling you, for me, I earned my MBA when I was 60 years old. Okay. Now, if I had done that when I was 25 or 35 years old, it would have been a big old difference. But for me, I mean, I love it. I didn't need it. I didn't need the money. I didn't need the cash. I didn't need the job or any of that. But it was good for me because it just opened my eyes to a new worldview, a new reality of even of my existence, and as well was an example to my children how important education is. It was all worth it. Okay. Whatever state you're in, you can pull yourself out. You can be well. I remember years ago, and I think this story might have stuck with me. I think this was about this was before I was married. It was about 30 years ago. I read this article in the newspaper. It was about this mother. She had a few kids, 3, 4 kids. I don't know how many kids she had. And she was on welfare. But you know, it had always been her dream from the time she was a young girl that she would be a doctor. And it looked like in her life at this point it was never going to happen. But one day she decided she was going to make it work. And she went to school. She did what she had to do, and I'm sure it wasn't easy. I'm sure she needed help from people probably to watch those kids sometimes or whatever it is you have to do. But eventually, and probably 2, 3 times longer than it took most people, she became a doctor. She had to sacrifice. She became a doctor. But you know, I'm going to tell you this. It really didn't matter how long she had been on welfare. It didn't matter how long her life wasn't what it could have been. At that point, she became a doctor. She was a doctor. And by now, I'm sure she's a retired doctor, okay? So whatever that life was before, it doesn't matter. She became a doctor. She had to determine, this is what I want to be. She sacrificed and she made it happen. And that's what I'm saying for us today. Man, maybe this thing with affirmative action, the attack against affirmative action, the Supreme Court ruling against affirmative action, maybe this could be looked at as a positive thing, to be the fire, to be the catalyst, to wake folks up, to recognize there's something that I need to do to make this thing happen. And you will, I'm telling you. So I hope I've given you a little bit of encouragement today. I'm telling you, you can do anything. You just have to really figure out a game plan and walk it out. Stop getting that buzz. Start taking care of yourself. And it's all going to work together. So at that point when you finally get that degree, that point when you finally get the thing that you've been striving for, you'll also be in good shape, in good condition, and it'll all come together at the same time. Take care of your business on multi-fronts at the same time. And you'll get there. And I guarantee you that the latter house, your latter house, will be greater than your former house. How's that?